Dr. Wonkite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
I blame it on industry. I blame it on my own hypocrisy. Miseducation and politicians. No one's willing to step up and speak.
Time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the award-winning Pace Radio Show. We are live. Yes, we are live here at lifestyleradio.net and 420radio.ca. It's April 11th, and it's only 9 days until 420. Tonight, I am joined by my joint host, Alicia Yashcheshen, and she has invited a guest that is involved in a very important event and educates people about cannabis. But before we learn more, it's time for Alicia and I to have a little chat. Hey, Alicia?
Well, of course. Happy Wednesday.
Yes, happy Wednesday. Talking about happy day, what kind of day you been having?
Well, I had to attend traffic court today, and I kind of had an altercation with the sheriff there.
Oh? And what do you mean? You had an altercation, like you assaulted? You were assaulted? Like...
Well, like I have to keep myself from laughing because the scenario is so silly, but because of multiple car accidents, I can't walk through a metal detector without it causing crazy migraines. Maybe it's in my head, I don't know, but at the end of the day, I've come to the conclusion that I shouldn't walk through them. And so out of respect for my body, I asked to be wanted. And unfortunately, I guess asking a public servant to do their job is totally outrageous. And so her, I guess, enragement was due to me asking to have my rights upheld, which is really disappointing.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, they have the wands. Like, what was the big deal about her not wanting to use her wand? Like, does that mean that she just had to do some work?
I guess so. And the thing is like, so she did proceed to use the wand, but she proceeded to also hit me with it deliberately.
Hit you with it?
So,
she
hit me with it. And so after the third time of being hit with a wand, I said, okay, this is enough. So I was like, you're not doing your job properly here. And then that's when she had grabbed my arm, and then I politely asked her to remove herself from my person. It was very unfortunate. Very. And at the end of the day, it all stems down to because I asked the government to honor my rights as a person.
Wow. And there's nothing wrong with asking for your rights to be honored.
Of course not. And I did it in a calm, polite way. I just said that I can't walk through the metal detector. But the thing is it's a pattern. Every single time I go to a courthouse in this city, Saskatoon, that happens.
Wow. That's
It's almost as if we've got some sheriffs who are overzealous with their tiny amount of jurisdiction. And so because that's the only thing that they do all day is basically make people walk through the metal detector and send their items through another x-ray machine. That's the extent of what...
Is there somewhere where it's written, where it's posted in writing somewhere where you could just sort of take that section of whatever and put it on a piece of paper, and every time you go through, you just give it to them? Here, this is your job. After
this, I'm just actually going to ask for a court order that I appear by phone, because my safety can't be put at risk like that no longer. No. So you ended up getting bruised from the grab? Yeah, for sure. It's all blue and it hurts. So my mom suggested that I should have an x-ray. I don't know if I would go that far. But in the same regard, it does hurt. So she did grab me quite hard, which is unnecessary.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
So you've had that today. I see some posts about a vaporizer. What'd you do? Beat up on a vaporizer? You're just having a good day.
No. After my kind of hectic morning, I went to have an afternoon bowl, and I went to take the top off my vape, and it literally just like shattered, broke in my hand. So then I went to the store. I went to the store that I purchased it from, and they said that I would have to get the warranty honored through the company because, unfortunately, it's a replacement part. So I guess it's a common problem. But in the same regard, like I've only had it since March 20th. If it's that cheap that it can break in such a short amount of time, like the craftsmanship or craftwomanship is quite poor.
I have broken so many of those glass tops, and even broken them right in my hand.
Yeah,
I don't like them. I don't like them at all. And now I got myself a Shatterizer here. It's got a nice solid top on it. It's not glass. It's still a globe.
Nice.
I haven't dropped it yet, though.
Over.
You'll be switching over, eh?
I will be because. Basically they said that their warranty just covers the battery. So it's like, well, that's kind of deceptive how the box says, 1 year warranty, but I guess you have to read the fine print.
Yeah, I had did it have a little star asterisk there telling you to read the fine print?
To be honest, that's a good point you make. No.
Being that, you're doing the law thing and all. What's that?
Like, in all honesty, though, that was a selling feature for me, like that 1 year warranty. Yeah. And you would think that because the top is so delicate, but at the end of the day, the reason why it broke is because like the bowl, like the rubber washer in it's too tight, right? So every time you pull it and push it on, like it's stretching that rubber part, and then eventually it just got stuck, and that's what happened. Because the first actual one that I had of this that the store had replaced, it was the bowl that broke like that. It's poorly designed, and I don't support this company at all because their warranty is deceptive, and I wouldn't recommend this product to anyone. It's garbage.
Okay. We'll make a shout.
I'll be donating it to Kellyanne if anyone wants it.
There you go. Pass it on to a patient. There you go.
Sure.
Okay. And one last thing before we bring our guest in. Talking about human rights, I have friends of mine where they hold. We've actually done a live broadcast from their location. They're the owners of Freedom Fields Naturist Ranch. So they hold the Freedom Festival, and
awesome.
Last summer I was there and we did a live broadcast for the day about all the events and everything that was happening there. And, they've been operating for, 4 or 5 years now. And it looks like the municipality might want to shut them down. They're giving them real hassle about trying to get them rezoned as a campground. So any good human rights lawyers in Ontario?
I actually do. I'll send you some names for sure.
Okay, you send me some names. That way I'll forward them on. Perfect. Yeah, because they've been
There's a merchant law group in Ontario.
There's a what?
Merchant law group there's a merchant law group office in every major city in Canada.
Okay, all right. Send me some information and I will pass it on to them.
I shall.
Okay, all right. It's time. It's time to bring our guest in, right?
Yay!
All right. Let's bring her in. And this person I said is involved in a very important event, which I'm sure we're going to discuss here, and educates people about cannabis, plus so much more. So I'd like to welcome Jamie Cooper to the Pace Radio Show. Hello, Jamie. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing fine. As you can tell, Alicia's all revved up.
All revved up. I'm digging the energy.
Good. Okay, to get things started here, Jamie, I usually just hand things over to Alicia, and she'll get the questions going, and I'll just jump in as the night progresses.
Okay, sounds wonderful.
All right. Okay, over to you, Alicia.
Awesome. Thanks, Al. Welcome, Jamie.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. My pleasure. So here at the Pace Radio Show, I like to go right to the beginning. So take me to when you first were introduced to cannabis? When did it come into your life?
Oh man, when I was like 16 years old, I remember getting high, and it's so funny because like my high school friend is like just so proud of me. Like, this friend that she totally remembers being the first person to get me high, and her name is Becky. And every time I go home, I do run into her, and I see her, and she's one of my biggest cheerleaders from Panhandle, Texas. And she, that was my first introduction to it. And then I did it a few times in college. One of the times that I remember doing it, I called my mom crying because I had mixed it with alcohol, like probably a ridiculous amount of alcohol. And and my mom still, like the last time I saw my mom a couple of weeks ago, she reminded me of that time when I called her crying. And I just reminded her, I'm like, it's a different story now. I'm more educated, And then, and then I became a frequent user probably in my upper 20s, like 26 years old. I was living in Colorado. One of my close friends just kept offering it to me, and eventually I was just like, man, this stuff is amazing. And, I was learning how to do it the right way.
That's awesome.
So very thankful for my cannabis journey.
That's cool. And so I guess in terms of legalities, though, like when you were a teenager, it obviously must have been prohibited still, yes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I grew up in the county in Texas that is probably the most known for the most drug seizures. And there's a really major highway that runs through the Texas Panhandle, and it runs all the way across the United States. And, I grew up with it just always being the top story in the front page of the paper and, talked about in the news. I worked in television news in the Texas Panhandle straight out of college. That was my first career out of college. I was a television news producer, and sometimes that was our top story. And I mean, it's sad. It's sad, and I've come a long way with my beliefs because I did drink that Kool-Aid. I believed that it was this bad thing, and and then I went to Colorado, and I became educated. I met people where it changed their lives. I was there for legalization, and it really opened up my eyes. And I'm so thankful that it's a part of my everyday routine now, and I'm educating others about it.
Awesome.
That's fantastic. It's that's great.
In terms of like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, in terms of like accessing cannabis, though, like in the teenage years, was that like illegal street dealers? Like that was probably the same game, eh?
Yeah, like I remember like having trouble sleeping at night when it was like hid in my mattress. Like it's because I do remember doing it in college a couple of times with some of my closest friends and friends that I still talk to every once in a while now. Those friends that you regather with and it's like you never separated, those types of friends. And we had an amazing time when we did it, but like it was Texas. It was like you had to really be quiet like about it and not really tell the whole world that you're doing it. And now it's a whole different world. I live in Michigan, which is a medical state that is likely going to go recreational. And I'm not ashamed. I'm not sorry for being a consumer and an advocate. Like I have no fear about it like I used to 25 years ago,
Wow, that's awesome. And so I guess in terms of like drug education growing up, like what was the message? Like obviously reefer madness based kind of? Because you said you drank the Kool-Aid.
I mean, well, DARE. I grew up in that generation where the DARE program, was a big deal. And, the DARE campaign. And then I yeah, like they taught us it in classes that it was bad. It was just that's just kind of what we believed, and it's bad. It's and the commercial. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. And it's to crack the egg yolk. I mean, so it's that's exactly what I remember.
And so I guess
all that nasty stuff.
Yeah, and so when you realize, holy cow, I've been lied to, what was that like?
Oh my gosh, it pissed me off. When I started really paying attention to things, it just got me mad, and I was like, and actually it was, and this will go into why I'm doing the Be Brave campaign, but on 4/20 3 years ago was when I came out. I officially came out, and I have lived in Colorado, where it's a legal state, and coming out, who cares if you're coming out? Nobody, it's a way of life in Colorado now.
Neat.
And then I came back to Michigan, and it was back to that, and
the hiding.
And on 4/20 last year was when I was like, no, this pisses me off. What's going on is just wrong, and I want to make myself a part of it. And I had already kind of made that decision already, but it was time to make the announcement that this is what I want to do, and I did. And I was just and it was that decision of I'm doing this, and I'm not turning back, and I'm going to have no regret, and I haven't. I did, I remember a couple of times going through the grocery store, around that time after I had done that, maybe hiding a marijuana leaf, sweater that I had on or something, but now I just don't care. I'm just if you don't like it, then you don't have to say anything. And most of it, what it does is it starts conversations. That's the great thing about it now. It's just there isn't that I don't feel like I get any judgment looks really. It's more of a conversational.
So I noticed from one of your pictures you've got jewelry that's cannabis leaf jewelry. So wearing something like that to the grocery store or out shopping, like you say, helps bring conversation and gets people talking. And
absolutely.
And I can understand what you're saying there too, as well, about the experience of basically coming out in the open, coming out of the closet, and letting people know and going public about it. For some people, it's a big step. I know even for myself, it was a big step, and I'm a medical patient here, and I still run across people that are concerned about coming out.
Right.
I agree too. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just people I think right now it's time for people to understand the importance of coming out. We are at a very crucial point in Canada, in the United States, but globally. The World Health Organization this is the biggest topic of discussion right now. So this is really happening, and so and they're wanting input. They are wanting to know how the people of the world really feel about cannabis.
And see, there is the revolution, the freedom to be who you are without the fear of judgment or discrimination. But unfortunately, I think we're still at that place where we have to be loud and proud to smash that stigma, because if we don't, who's going to?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. People are coming at it from so many different angles, and getting a program like what you've got set up here to get people to speak up. The louder our voice, the better things are going to be.
Oh, for sure. Have you ever considered a book with the Be Brave campaign? That would be it.
I have not. I have zero experiences with books for me. Me personally, I come from television news and,
right?
video. Yeah, so video broadcasting to me is just the biggest Like, it's very effective. And, it's just, like, when people see the emotion on your face when you're talking, they get that feel, that real you, but I understand that, like, it's not comfortable for everyone either. And so at this point, we're launching this campaign April 19th, but we are launching it. And if people aren't comfortable with videos of telling their story, then don't do it, But if you use your voice in words, if you're more comfortable doing that, then please, like, it's time. We need this. We need this to really, like, just take off and people to start hearing the stories, like, almost just kind of like bombarding them with our stories, because everyone has one. And right now it's not just the people that have, like, that use cannabis, but the people that just are that kind of, like, gray area where they're not against it, they're willing to learn, and, they support it, but they're not really comfortable coming out. Like, I want to encourage people right now is the time to say, hey, I don't use, but I support the choice to use this if my mother gets sick, or if my child comes down with epilepsy, or if I just need to take the edge off after a hard day's work.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's like a glass of wine.
Jamie, you mentioned a bit, like, your name, your campaign there, the Be Brave, and April 19th. Can you explain exactly what it's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a social media campaign. We are launching it on April 19th, the day before 420. We decided on April 19th. And I kind of want to give a little background of the campaign as well.
Go ahead.
So the ladies, there's a certification center and a wellness center in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's called Green Gate Health. And they have launched Be Brave for Cannabis. And what they were doing is they were collecting video testimonials, and they are wanting to make content out of those testimonials, to help build advocacy and support. Well, I saw them doing that, and I'm just out there with what I do. I mean, cannabis is my life. I'm always advocating. I'm presenting in front of municipalities, a couple of times a week. And so I approached them and said, hey, I have this idea. I've been thinking of something similar. I want to do a social media campaign. Can we work together to take your Be Brave, and, you continue to collect the testimonials, and, I'll really like let's do something social, because I'm a social media, like, person. Like, social media is my life. And they were like, yeah, no problem. So we joined forces, and we did a couple of kind of soft launches of the campaign and built support and started kind of building the brand behind it. And, a few weeks ago, I was thinking, I was like, man, I think we need to do this for 420. And I was actually thinking about 3 years ago was when I came out of the cannabis closet. And I started thinking, well, maybe, like, sometimes people look at 420 as like, that stoner holiday. I'm like, let's do something really motivational with it. Like, it was, it was motivation for me before I really got into it. And so I thought, like, okay, what if we do this? We launched a social campaign on the 19th. And I just think that if we do that, by the time 420 hits, it'll really take off. People will start sharing their stories, and we can motivate some people. And so we're encouraging everyone to do, there's a number of ways you can do it. You can share your cannabis story or your support by pre-recording a video and posting it on the 19th. That way, you can try it a few times, get it perfectly done, and then post it on the 19th. Or you could use the Facebook Live feature, which I am a huge fan of. But the Facebook Live feature, you can use it to do it as well. And then, if you're not comfortable doing the video thing, then we ask that you just do, like, maybe a status, a regular Facebook post or social media post. And, start the post off with, today I am being brave for cannabis. And then go into your story, encourage others to do the same. And then, and we're just asking for people to include hashtag Be Brave for Cannabis and hashtag Be Brave. That way we just can kind of track the progress of the campaign and see how it's going. But, it's just like, let's motivate some people. I think this thing has some potential. Everyone that I've talked to about it and asked for support has been like, wow, I'm going to do it. So right now we're just trying to get the word out. We have about a week,
Yeah. That's great. That's a good idea. Get people, the more people, like I said, more people speak out. It encourages others to do the same thing. Now, you mentioned if somebody doesn't want to do a video, what if they posted a picture, some type of picture at the same time?
I think that's totally fine. A picture, just like type out words. And actually what we are going to do is so if you go to 420bebrave.com, there's a form you can fill out. It will take you like 30 seconds to fill out. You just put your email address, your name in there, where you're from, and then, just committing to it. Then we're able to get your email address. And what we're going to do is we're going to email everyone before the campaign with reminders and directions, and then as well as an attachment like a graphic that you can put up as your profile picture that day, or you can just post it if you want. And it's just simply going to say Be Brave. It's just a part of the campaign, and like the one that has been a part of the ads for tonight's broadcast.
So within the stories that you've come across, have you noticed a common theme at all?
Between the Be Brave for Cannabis stories?
Yeah, like all the ones that have already been submitted. Do you notice any type of trend or theme? Or are they all different or kind of unique to each person?
It's pretty unique, but I always hear the ability to withdraw from other medications. That seems to be what the stories that I hear most of, people saying that they were able to get off of certain medications because of cannabis. And that's a story that I can share, attest to as well. Also experiencing people or experiencing very sick loved ones. Again, that's another story that I can relate to. I lost my father to pancreatic cancer last year. And so, we all have this point in our life where cannabis becomes it just changes our mind. It changes our lives. Some of us are able to withdraw from medications and have a better quality of life. Or, our loved ones were able to kick their cancer into remission. There's just stories after stories after stories.
There is, and the more of those people who have successful stories or very good stories, yet again, share.
Right.
Those stories help educate other people. So
they do.
Right.
They really do.
Okay,
Well,
Alicia,
and the thing that
jump in there, get a question.
Well, I guess what I would argue, though, is how I know in Canada they say, there's no studies to suggest that cannabis does this or that. But I think that by virtue of these personal testimonies, that's research in itself. All of these people say, what, cannabis helps my Crohn's, or cannabis helps my arthritis, or et cetera, or my autism. There's so many different people that can testify to that. That's got to be worth something. And for some reason, it just doesn't seem to be. Hey?
Right. But I think, I'm a kind of a statistical freak. I really love to. I purposely go and try to find studies on certain issues, and it's because I do these municipality presentations, and so I go into these conversations equipped to address some things, because people always have questions about it, or somebody's going to approach me after they hear me talk at a city council meeting and start asking me questions about just cannabis in general. I help businesses get going in this industry. That's what I do. And I tell everyone I work with, like, you have to become an advocate. You have to be knowledgeable on, like, all levels. If you're going to be knowledgeable on the business side, you also need to make yourself a resource for just general information, because the public is hungry for it. Like, they are wanting to know, and they're just waiting for that opportunity to take you to coffee or corner you up and ask you about it.
Bingo, right? Exactly.
So your presentations then are like really valuable then, because you're educating the masses, correct? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually, like, the Be Brave for Cannabis campaign is actually like a little add or two, like, of a project that I'm currently working on, which I'm working on building a series of virtual town hall meetings.
Okay. Well, why don't we get into that after the break?
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds
okay.
good.
Super. Okay. Tonight, as we go into break, normally, as listeners know, I try to match a song up with the guest. Tonight, I didn't match up a song. As you've heard, Jamie's talking about the big Be Brave for Cannabis campaign, and some of the testimonials are already out there. What I've done is I've taken little pieces off of them, and in the first commercial break here, we're going to hear from a lady by the name of Jessica, I believe it's her name.
Awesome!
And yeah, you'll be able to hear that. Going into the break and coming out of the break, everybody will hear a little bit about her situation. And then when we get back, Alicia and I will continue our conversation with our guest, Jamie Cooper. You're listening to the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at lifestyleradio.net.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong. And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time. 420 Radio? Ooh.
Please hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Hi, I'm Jessica Foley, and I'm here today to be brave and talk about medical cannabis. I'm the co-owner of Green Gate Health, a longtime cannabis activist. I have epilepsy. I've had it my entire life, and I didn't know it for a while. I thought I was just fainting or I was tested for blood sugar and a whole bunch of other different things. But then when I was finally diagnosed with epilepsy, it was like, oh, great, we figured out what is causing these seizures, but
True North Seed Bank has been Canada's most diverse cannabis seed source for years, and now we are proud to announce our brand new storefront right beside our friends at Medicine Wheel Natural Healing. All of the same freebies and sales we offer on our website will apply in the storefront as well. Join us for our grand opening at 8986 County Road 45 in Alderville on April 20th. The first 100 customers will receive a gift bag, including a Canuck puck with their purchase. There will be 420 burgers and 420 hot dogs for free, and lots of other fun giveaways. There will also be live music by Cale Crow, and all kicks off at noon. Take this perfect opportunity to celebrate 420 by visiting the new True North Seed Bank storefront in Alderville and get ready for spring while celebrating with us.
Are you looking for cannabis news, education, and people's opinions? Are you looking to learn what Canadian and international cannabis advocates are doing, not only now, but what got them to this point in their lives, and what does the future hold for them? Do you want to learn how patients are using cannabis as their daily medication, or learn how their cannabis use helps them with their medical condition? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I'm going to suggest to you to tune in to Lifestyle Radio. Catch their live weekly shows and have your questions and concerns answered and find the experience you're looking for. Monday, catch your weekly news broadcast with the Reef Reporters. Then on Wednesday, get several hours worth of cannabis public education. We get things started with Cannabis and Coffee with Tamarawana. Then tune in and catch Pottawa with Russell Barth, who calls himself the world's angriest pothead. Finish up your evening with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with Al Grham and joint host Kim Cooper and Alicia Yashcheshen. No week would be complete without tuning into Friday night's program, the 420 Radio Show, featuring Al Rapp and the 420 Radio crew, Mary Jane Baker and Marcel Gignac. Cannabis is a lifestyle, and you can catch all your cannabis lifestyle information right here at lifestyleradio.net or at our sister site, 420radio.ca.
The following is a public service announcement from the Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society. The Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society is a non-profit organization dedicated to ensuring improved access to therapeutic cannabis and cannabis byproducts in Canada. With a federal government that has committed to legalizing cannabis, we feel it is our duty to ensure that the medicinal use of cannabis doesn't get lost in the process and that there are clear distinctions made between the medicinal and recreational use of cannabis. It is our mission to ensure that government regulation doesn't get in the way of a sick, disabled, or terminally ill person's right to use or produce this amazing natural health product. If you would like to get involved, you can contact us on the internet. www.canadiantherapeuticCannabisPartners.com, on Facebook, CTCP Society, or search Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners.
CTCP now operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888, and grow on with CTCP.
Man, have you been to CANNABIS yet? CANNABIS, Campbellford's premier cannabis culture shop at 19 Bridge Street West. They've got bongs, oil rigs, grinders, and papers. Everything you need for consumption. They've got seeds, soil, nutrients, and dome trays too. Everything you need for cultivation. Get top quality seeds from top suppliers like Canuck and wholesaler Nexus. CANNABIS. They've got all kinds of awesome cannabis novelties, clothing, and apparel. I know, right? It's a lot more than just a bong shop. Interested in gaining legal access? CANNABIS can help. They're a PACE information center. You know, people advocating cannabis education. Come by the shop and check it out. 19 Bridge Street West, Campbellford. CANNABIS. Have your say without saying a word. CANNABIS.ca.
A lot of people don't understand what a seizure is and what having epilepsy means, so I'm going to tell you a little bit first about some of the things that make me me. So first, a seizure. There's confusion, there's tingly limbs that become shaking limbs, there's nausea and changes in vision, there's the lightning storm of pain, not being able to stand, not being able to use my left hand for hours afterwards.
Hey, we're back. We are the Pace Radio Show, and we are live here at lifestyleradio.net, as well as at Spreaker. I just want to let everybody know that you can catch the 420 Radio crew on April the 20th as they broadcast live from the Hot Box 420 Block Party in downtown Toronto. Join Al, Mary Jane Baker, and Marcel Gignac, and maybe a few others from lifestyleradio.net will join in for this day, all day long broadcast. Last year, we were able to talk to 420 organizers from across the country as the clock ticked 420 in the time zone. Tune in this year to see what the crew has planned. And as I said, they broadcast live from the Hot Box Vapor Lounge in Kensington Market in downtown Toronto, April the 20th. Tonight in the program, I'm joined by our guest, Jamie Cooper of Be Brave for Cannabis campaign, plus my joint host, Alicia Yashcheshen. Jamie, before we cut you off to go to the break, you were talking about some town hall meetings?
Yeah, some virtual town hall meetings.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so, you know, I have, as I was talking about earlier, I have been doing municipality presentations across the state of Michigan on behalf of those seeking licensing for medical marijuana businesses. And I've been doing that for the last about year and a half. after our governor
Okay.
signed a set of bills.
Yeah.
And,
Okay, G. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
You're just sounding a little bit muffled. If something's covering your phone, that's all.
Oh,
you sound so far away, like you're in Michigan.
Right? Right. Is it any better?
You're not as clear as you were in that. Yeah, you're not as clear as you were. It's just all of a sudden, it just sounds like you got something covering the phone up, but you say no. Okay, I can tell she's trying to do something.
Okay, is anything better now?
Yes, much
that's
better. Perfect, just like you were the first segment.
Okay. So the virtual town hall meetings, I put these together after all of the feedback that I have kind of observed over the last year and a half from those that are making decisions in municipalities. You know, the municipalities in Michigan specifically have all of the control. Like if you can get your state license, but if the municipality is not cool with it, you're not going to be able to be there. It's like that in California. It's like that in Massachusetts. You know, we're all kind of dealing. And earlier you had said something about municipalities as well. And so that's, you know, it really is a big thorn in our side. So I decided, you know, the municipalities aren't doing enough, so it's time to educate the people. It truly was. Like, I don't think the people really understand the discussions that are being held at a municipality level, and they're not really understanding the importance of why they need to get involved. I mean, this is very close to the Be Brave for Cannabis campaign, which is just to educate the masses. But the virtual town hall meetings are geared to educate the voters, the people that can put pressure on municipality leaders. You know, like, so what I'm doing is I have it set up. It's very marketing, very, like, just packed full of information. They go to a registration page. They give their email address. It's a webinar, essentially. You know, a virtual town hall meeting where I'm able to get their email address, and then they join at 6 o'clock on a Monday night for 2 hours. And if they can't make it, no big deal. If they make it, they can ask questions to those involved in the virtual town hall meeting, because I'm going to get politicians involved. I'm going to get our legalization campaign involved. I'm going to get Michigan Normal involved in this. You know, all the people that are really spearheading the marijuana movement. And, you know, I'm going to educate them on the old law, the new law, what's happening with recreational, and then I'm going to go into what kind of discussions, because these campaigns are going to be advertised regionally or locally. So then I can go into how marijuana has been discussed in specific municipalities, and how much money could those municipalities see, or how many jobs could it create if they were to allow these businesses. Get the people fired up enough to also, you know, where we collected their email address. Then they get a follow-up email from us that is going to be a link to the recording of the webinar. It's going to have an email, a template email that Michigan Normal, I'm going to work with them to create this, but a template email on how they can reach out to their local municipality officials. Because that's what needs to happen, is we need to be putting pressure on those at the local level, because those sometimes are our biggest hurdles. I mean, and we also obviously need to be putting pressure on anyone at a state level or you know, or at federal level. So that's the whole, you know, purpose behind these virtual town hall meetings, is to educate the voters, get them fired up, and help them understand why it's time to be brave and to show your support for this right now.
So do you think that people who don't necessarily use cannabis could like use the Be Brave campaign to say, hey, look, I support you? Like, could they tell their story and say, hey, look, like, my mother-in-law had, you know, such and such a cancer and she cured herself, so I'm a supporter? Like, do you encourage that too? You must, yeah?
Absolutely. That is, I mean, it's important. That's what, like, that middle area, you know, not the people that are against campaign and we could never, or against cannabis and we could never convince, but that middle area that hasn't really, they support it, but they haven't really shown their support for it yet, but they're willing to. When they know why it's important, when they understand it more.
And so people like politicians and nurses or like police officers, they could use that platform too to say, hey, look, or firefighters, like any teachers, any profession.
Yes. Yes.
To say, hey, look, like we support you. You know?
Well, and then the virtual town hall meetings I'm putting together, that's why I'm doing them virtually, because people aren't showing up at the in-person town hall meetings. So when you do it virtually, it removes the fear factor. Like, people don't have to worry about running into their jerk neighbor, or, you know, like they can go and learn. Yeah, they can go and learn and do it confidentially and understand it a little bit more before they attach their face to it. And then the other thing about the virtual town hall meetings, I mean, like, when people go to the election, like when they go to the polls to vote, it's the older generations that are like really putting in the effort to do that, and less of the younger generations, the millennials. But the millennials will sign up for a webinar in a heartbeat. And, you know, another thing about these webinars is it's helping bring out that younger generation that doesn't typically vote. Because November 2018 in Michigan is going to be a huge year, and it's going to be a huge year for several different states in the United States. I mean, there's going to be a lot of legalization, you know, on the ballot again.
And so do you think that, like, the millennials will be like, oh, hey, like in Canada, I would like to argue that that's why the Liberal government got in, because it was not on the ballot, but it was on the table where no other government, you know, proposed that?
Yeah, because they proposed the legalization here in Canada, got more of the younger vote out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I wonder if that would be true in Michigan also, eh?
Yeah. Well, in fact, like, there was a story that came out last week in Michigan that said that the legislature is talking about legalization or legalizing cannabis in Michigan legislatively, because we are a Republican state right now, and it's going to drive out the Democratic and the Liberal voters, and it could completely turn the election here in Michigan, like turn the House, the Senate, the governor's seat, everything. And they're just like, oh, no, this is a huge threat. And they should feel threatened. Mm-hmm. They really should.
And so would that look like a whole different state then, if that change in the House happened?
Yeah, we've been operating under some pretty strict conservatism for quite a while. I mean, we have Governor Snyder still, who, you know, a lot of responsibility on his shoulders for the Flint crisis. Yeah. You know, our state needs this money. Like, there's no doubt. I had to replace
but
2 tires last week from potholes because we don't have money.
Yeah, Jamie, though, isn't it's set up though down there? If the you know, the people vote on this and accept it, could the governor veto it? Or
you know, possibly. I'm no, because I do believe that's a good question. I can't answer that question.
Okay, because
I know that if they do something legislatively, because it's about to go on the ballot. The legalization. Right. We're just waiting for the confirmation from the state that all the signatures have been approved, and they collected well over the amount that they needed. It's likely going to be on the ballot. But if they do it legislatively, they have to match it word for word.
They do.
So what does that process look like to get something on the ballot there? Like, is that?
So they had to collect 252,000 signatures, and they did that last summer, turned them in, and they they collected, I think, like maybe 400 and something thousand signatures, well over what they needed to.
Wow.
And right now, we're just waiting on that official word that it's going to be on the ballot. And we had the Marijuana Policy Project come in and join forces with the grassroots campaign here. But the Marijuana Policy Project was able to come in with the funding that was needed to get those signatures. And so I'm pretty sure it's going to be on the ballot, and the whole state is preparing for that. And we have the second largest medical market in the entire country behind California. And I don't think people realize that, because we have 269,000 registered patients in Michigan.
That's awesome. But so
Right.
in terms of a rec market, is that easily like the stores that are catering to the medicinal market, would they be able to also, like, what would that look like? Or is that two separate markets?
It will be two separate markets. The medical's going, right now we're transitioning our medical program, because we voted for medical in Michigan in 2008, and that was a caregiver law, grow it yourself or have a caregiver grow it for you. And then we are making the transition into a regulatory program where we will have the licensed medical marijuana facilities. And then recreational will be voted on in November. But then, traditionally in states, it takes 12 to 18 months or 12 to 24 months to implement a new regulatory structure. So I think, we vote on it in November. It's going to be at least a year and a half before we see it really kick in.
Oh.
Yeah, we're at a couple years here.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And so
just-
the prosperity. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to give Jamie some news. While you were talking to her there, I did do a quick little search, and I realized different states have different laws and that down there. But it happened in Maine. The governor vetoed the vote.
Wow.
Residents of Maine voted to legalize cannabis in 2016, but the governor vetoed it because it wasn't legal at the federal end.
Wow.
Yeah, because the federal government prohibits cannabis. Paul LePage. This was in November of just past year, 2017.
Wow.
So,
that's a fantastic question.
So yeah, you may want to look into that.
Such a wrong move too. Like, hopefully that's not possible. But that he's going out of office. He's about to be gone. So like I don't know if he's going to even have that opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because we could switch Democratic, and if that happens, then I doubt that governor, because the Democratic candidate that would likely get that seat she's definitely pro-cannabis. So we have some great politicians on that side there, definitely pro.
Now I don't know, whether that person's decision could be overrode by somebody else. Like I said, your laws are different than ours, and I don't barely know our own. So that's why we got Alicia. But it's happened anyways.
Yeah, hopefully not here.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers
but
crossed.
I'm gonna ask questions to the right people here in Michigan to
go.
see if that can happen.
Yeah. Good to look into it.
That's such a good perspective. Ask the right questions. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
Got a question? Time about a question? We got 5 minutes till break time.
Huh. So I guess in terms of like legalization, what's your like idealistic like image of that in Michigan? Like your perfect world?
Oh, my perfect world for legalization? Yeah.
Oh, we all have our
Oh,
dreams.
the perfect world is to have it set up like a craft market.
Yeah.
Like that, because I think Michigan has a very educated market. Like, they have people that are there, they're wanting the flavor, they're wanting the best product, and they're willing to pay the price for it. I mean, there is that market that will exist where they want to buy, whatever's on sale, but that's because they're not as educated as the connoisseurs. And in Michigan, we have a ton of connoisseurs, and I think if we can cater to that market and also provide like opportunities to smaller businesses, I just really want to see that happen here. But who knows if, federally, if they were to reschedule it, that would just take away that from us, and that's the scary part about it. But, ideally, that's the perfect world in my mind.
Now,
if they rescheduled cannabis, then the state couldn't have it legal? Is that what you're saying?
Well, so if they reschedule it, it would go into the hands of the FDA, and it would be regulated, federally. If they deschedule it, then it's not scheduled at all, and it's not regulated.
That's
and so descheduling is the best thing that could happen. Ideally in my mind, descheduling just removes all fears.
Like in Canada, I would just repeal prohibition, like alcohol prohibition. That's what our government should have done, is just repeal prohibition.
That's what it is. Yes.
Yeah, it should have been repealed. Yeah, now like here in Canada, it's going to legalize federally. They're coming up with their regulations, and then it's passed down to the provinces where they come up with their own regulations, and then there's the municipal government after that as well, which is a good thing about what you do, is where you're talking with your municipal people, because they are involved in it.
Yeah, because they can regulate it further than the state or the federal government.
Yeah.
In Michigan, they could regulate it further.
Yeah, because, really, when you go to vote, you're just voting on cannabis legalization for recreational use. There's no actual, nothing's set up yet as far as information to knowing how it's going to be.
No, there is. It's written into law how it's going to be. And, there are going to be those craft opportunities. There's micro-licensing.
Yeah. Oh, that's what we're talking about here, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I just didn't know if the people were voting, whether they're just voting for it, and then the regulations came out afterwards, and they were all developed. And that's part of that 2-year progress that you were talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of it piggybacks off of the medical law. So the regulations for the medical it's going to be very similar, but it's going to be set up like a lot of other regulated recreational markets that we see in America. Like Oregon.
So you'll in your recreational proposal, people will be able to grow their own cannabis.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think the caregiver model here might go away. You can't grow it for others, but I think there should always be that option to grow it yourself, because there are people that can't afford the dispensary prices.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I know. I was in Michigan one time. I know. I couldn't believe it. It's costly. Let's just say it was then, anyways.
It is, and think about this: the price that you paid in Michigan was unregulated price.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you during the break.
Because the dispensaries were technically illegal, Yeah. So that they didn't have to pay taxes, they didn't have to pay any regulation costs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's sort of like what we have here in Canada, right? Right, Alicia? Where the dispensaries don't have any regulation costs. Yeah.
No, right now they're considered illegal criminals, which is unfortunate because the way that they're proposing, it's going to be the exact same way it is now. They have no like quality insurance control. It's just who's a government fat buddy that's going to get that license to provide the cannabis from an LP.
Yeah.
That's a sad day for legalization. That is shit. That is not legalization. Legalization is repealing cannabis out of the criminal code so that people never have to suffer that injustice.
And that's part of the problem that we've ran into up here is that people have so many different versions of what they believe legalization means. You know, the free market.
Repeal.
Yeah, well, yeah. You know, some people think it's repeal, and then you gotta really listen to what the politicians say, every word, because you know it's just so tricky. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, ladies, it's time for us to take another break. We're at the top of the hour.
I won't be vaping during the break, just so you know.
Yeah, well, we'll have to get you a Shatterizer so you don't break yours.
I know, and you know the thing is I was deliberately so gentle with it, and it broke. I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know.
Yeah, I can believe you. I can believe you. I know what you mean. Okay, it's more time to hear from another brave person who's speaking out, and this time it's Natasha. And then Alicia and I will continue our conversation with our guest, Jamie Cooper. You're listening to the Pace Radio Show. We are here at lifestyleradio.net.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Hi, I am Natasha Brawley, and I am here today to be brave and talk about cannabis. I am a cancer survivor, and I was diagnosed with renal carcinoma 2 weeks before Christmas in 2015 in my right kidney. Life at this point was a struggle for me. Needless to say, my state of mind was not in prime condition at the time. The questions that you think of: will I be here for my children? My husband? What would they do without me? If I don't make it, how long will they have to see me fight?
Man, have you been to CANNADIS yet? CANNADIS, Campbellford's premier cannabis culture shop at 19 Bridge Street West. They've got bongs, oil rigs, grinders, and papers. Everything you need for consumption. They've got seeds, soil, nutrients, and dome trays too. Everything you need for cultivation. Get top quality seeds from top suppliers like Canuck and wholesaler Nexus. CANNADIS. They've got all kinds of awesome cannabis novelties, clothing, and apparel. I know, right? It's a lot more than just a bong shop. Interested in gaining legal access? CANNADIS can help. They're a PACE information center. You know, people advocating cannabis education. Come by the shop and check it out. 19 Bridge Street West, Campbellford. CANNADIS. Have your say without saying a word. CANNADIS.ca.
Hi, this is Grham of the Pace Radio Show. Are you keeping pace, as in keeping people advocating cannabis education? If you're not, and you're a cannabis consumer, then why not? Others are working hard every day to help educate people about cannabis so you can enjoy your daily 420. Get involved and speak out. Be loud and proud so that you can keep pace. Tune into the Pace Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear about people advocating cannabis education here on lifestyleradio.ca.
In 2017, the Canadian government announced that although recreational cannabis would be federally legal, its distribution and sale would be determined by individual provinces. Later that fall, the province of Ontario announced its proposed legal framework, that a subsidiary of the LCBO be the sole proprietor of cannabis in our province, essentially creating a one-party monopoly. This government-controlled monopoly could result in longer wait times, supply issues, and insufficient experience due to lack of proper consultation with the pre-existing industry. The provincial government believes this framework will restrict access to children and help eliminate the black market, but this proposed action will only push illicit suppliers further underground. Meanwhile, over the past 2 decades, there's been a growing industry of intelligent, savvy and responsible cannabis entrepreneurs who have been working hard to provide access and education around the medicinal, therapeutic, and recreational uses of cannabis. We are Sensible Ontario. We're not new, but we're excited to meet you. Visit our website now and donate to become a part of Making Sense.
If you'd like to learn more about Sensible Ontario, go to sensibleontario.ca.
True North Seed Bank has been Canada's most diverse cannabis seed source for years, and now we are proud to announce our brand new storefront right beside our friends at Medicine Wheel Natural Healing. All of the same freebies and sales we offer on our website will apply in the storefront as well. Join us for our grand opening at 8986 County Road 45 in Alderville on April 20th. The first 100 customers will receive a gift bag, including a Canuck puck with their purchase. There will be 420 burgers and 420 hot dogs for free, and lots of other fun giveaways. There will also be live music by Cale Crow, and all kicks off at noon. Take this perfect opportunity to celebrate 420 by visiting the new True North Seed Bank storefront in Alderville and get ready for spring while celebrating with us.
All these terrible, life-altering conversations with myself. Just imagine sitting in your own head day after day wondering if you're wasting your days. In addition, I found out my cancer was so deep inside my kidney, chemo wouldn't touch it, and surgery wasn't an option because he was scared that he may fracture the tumor while trying to remove it.
I decided to give this thing called RSO oil a try. In just 1 month, I'm proud to say and happy to say and eager to say that I was able to shrink my tumor.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Pace Radio Show. We are being broadcasted live. Yep. As I always say, we are live here at lifestyleradio.net. You can also catch us at Spreaker. And if you can't catch the live show, you can always catch the podcast afterwards. They're posted at iTunes. Down in the U.S. for our U.S. listeners, iHeartRadio has it down there as well. Tonight, we featured, instead of music at our bumpers, we had two people who were being brave and speaking up. To do so, as they did, allows our voice to become louder and louder, and as it becomes louder, it increases the possibility of people getting easy and fair access to cannabis medications, and the more we speak up, better everybody will be. So I congratulate Jamie on her program that she's going to be having here. Be Brave. It's happening on April the 19th, and you can go to the Be Brave website, and Jamie will tell us where that is. Jamie?
420bebrave.com.
Super. Thank you for helping me there.
Yeah, that's all the information about the campaign, how to do it, what we need from you, a commitment, a little form that you can fill out to saying that, hey, I'm going to be a part of this on April 19th.
Yes, good stuff. All right. Thank you for that. Alicia, over to you. Get this last and third segment rolling.
All righty. So, Jamie, you kind of touched on what you do professionally, but take our listeners there. Like, you mentioned that you help entrepreneurs. You do stuff in media. So what is your company business?
Well, I own two companies. I own Canada Works, which I started 3 years ago. And then I also own CANNABIS Connection, which I launched in January, so just a little bit less than 3 months ago. And I started Canada Works 3 years ago, right after I moved to Michigan from Colorado. I was in Colorado in 2014 for the big legalization boom, and in fact, it was the legalization boom that kind of forced me out. Like I was working in the ski industry. I was doing marketing. I loved my job, but I was in the ski industry. I was in a ski town, and I had met my husband out there, and we had a child, and it just became impossible in the ski industry and just working in that career. And I had tapped out of my marketing career in the ski industry. So it was time to move on to something new. And we chose to come to Michigan, not Texas, which is where I grew up. And I did not want to go there, and neither did my husband. But we chose West Michigan to be closer to his family. And as soon as I got here, I just started researching what was going on in the cannabis industry because it had really got my attention in Colorado. And so I started thinking like, well, there's not really a ski industry in Michigan. There's a little bit of a ski industry, but it wasn't like Colorado. And so I realized that it was my opportunity to create my own path. And so I decided to start a marketing company for the industry in Michigan. And it was a little too early. There weren't a whole lot of businesses in Michigan. It was unregulated, and they weren't spending a lot of money on marketing. So I really wasn't getting a lot of work. And so I really just became an advocate. I really got involved in conversations and started following the legislature and seeing what was happening in the law and just seeing the bills. Every time a new bill would get introduced, how it would progress and change to the House and Senate. And I just got a lot more interested in that and just tracked it and stayed on top of it and realized that was what was going to happen. Our state was about to transition the medical program, and I prepared for that moment. And so I made myself a resource for those that just wanted to start a business in the cannabis industry or wanted to just get one of these licenses that, was a part of the new regulatory structure. And so I started creating content. I started creating webinars and educating the people about the law, the new changes, the bills, like what's happening, and kind of like I kicked in my newsy, like I became a newsie again because I was a news producer for several years in my 20s, and it just kind of kicked in, and I started creating content constantly and started building an audience. And still, not getting a whole lot of marketing work. I would be in marketing jobs here and there, and then I started taking on. That's when I decided, well, I could make some money, going to these municipalities and, advocating on behalf of those that were wanting businesses. And so I started taking on work where they would repay me, and I would go and I would advocate for them. And I was knowledgeable, pretty much made myself educated as if I'm not an attorney, and I would never call myself that, and I would never give legal advice, but I did educate myself to that aspect. Like I sat down and I read the laws like it was a book.
But you need to. That's smart. That is really
You
smart.
do.
And it's a good way to protect yourself. Yeah, I agree.
And I love it. I really, I'm interested in how it changes and and I never in my life thought that I would sit down and read an ordinance. But I do. And so I fed myself all this information and just started just really broadening my skill set. And that's when it got to a point where I was like, okay, how do I want to move forward with Canna Media Works? Because Canna Media Works was supposed to be a marketing company, and now I'm doing all these business type things. So how do I separate the two? And I'm like, and how do I want to move forward in this industry? And there were three things that I wrote on a piece of paper. And the three things were, I want to continue marketing businesses, and I want to continue connecting people, and I wanted to continue hosting events because I had also started hosting quarterly boot camps, licensing boot camps, and so that's how I wanted to move forward. And so that's why I created Cannabis Connection, which is kind of it's a one-stop shop for those building businesses in Michigan, and we launched it 3 months ago. It's still building. Every day we're putting more content online. We are building the audience and building the connections and finding the right partners and, educating people by hosting weekly webinars and networking events. Because right now it's just like there's such a need for information that the service providers that are working in other states are eager to get into Michigan. And those building businesses need those people. Like, they need the people that have done it already. Because all of a sudden, we're transitioning into this regulated market, and all of a sudden everyone became an expert. Everyone became confident in, like, this is what's going to happen in Michigan. And I just, I made some mistakes. I partnered with the wrong people, the overconfident people that were not providing good businesses. And so I knew that there was that need for people to find the right connections. And so, Cannabis Connection, I started branching out into other states and saying, hey, we need your expertise. We need your help. Like, with compliance, like, help these people understand what is actually coming. Because, those that were building these businesses in Michigan were just, like, everybody thought this is what's going to happen, and I, like, the best people to tell us what happens is the people that have already done it before, right? So yeah, that's my businesses. And then Canna Media Works now is going. I'm partnering up with a marketing agency in Lansing, Michigan, and we are creating a full service marketing company called Cola Marketing, and we are building our brand right now, and we are launching it for CannaCon June 1st and 2nd, which is coming to Detroit. And so we are launching Cola, and Cannabis Connection is going to continue building. We'll be hosting a big networking event the night of June 1st at St. Andrew's Hall in Detroit. So big things happening in Michigan.
Awesome.
Sure,
really have to be in the
sure is a lot going on there.
Yeah. And so in terms of 420, what goes on there?
Oh, there's going to be, I'm going to be participating in a networking event in Grand Rapids. It's called MI 420, and it's hosted by a company called Canna Communication. Roberta King and Dottie, they own that company, and they are a communications firm that I work with. And so they're doing a networking event with Bruce Barcott. And I'll be participating in that, and that's until 6:30 at night. And then, of course, there's going to probably be some underground events where people will be consuming cannabis in really cool places. And I intend to get a sitter and attend some of those as well. And I with it being on a Friday night, I can imagine it's going to really be a fun night.
Awesome.
Does your recreational cannabis proposal include consumption locations like a lounge or anything like that?
I don't think it does. And that's a shame. Like I hope that's definitely one of the focuses, after we get legalization behind us, that I would love to kind of advocate for, because it's just, Michigan had a lot of those places, and there are a lot less now because of regulations, and but hopefully we will be able to have these legal consumption places. That's what the recreational market wants. I'm done having beers and wine and stuff that's going to make my stomach hurt the next day. I want to smoke some cannabis.
Here in Ontario, there are vapor lounges. They're not regulated or anything. With the Ontario proposal to add on top of the federal stuff, they have discussed lounges. They've asked for information and input, but they haven't implemented them yet. Because on the other end, they're making it illegal for you to consume it in public, and you have to do it in your home. And you could have a home that is rented, and you have maybe forced to sign a lease agreement that you can't smoke cannabis in your house. So you can't smoke it in the public, you can't smoke it in your house. What are you to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, Alicia, what's your province doing that way?
I haven't really heard. I don't think that they're going to allow, like, vape. Maybe that's what I should do, is open a vape lounge, and then they can come and try and raid me. Because, yeah, to be honest, I haven't really heard. But that's a good point, because that is something that, even in terms of, like, a cannabis community sense, like, we deserve that. People can go to churches, bars, like, all kinds of different, like, affiliation places. I think that a vape lounge is just justified, right?
Yeah, you can get a beer at a wedding. Go to a sports game, you can get a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
A vented room for people to consume the cannabis. What do you think, ladies? Doesn't sound bad at the,
Sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah. Well, it's socializing, and there's nothing wrong with socializing. You don't want people to be cooped up in their homes all the time, especially when it comes to patients, because patients, for them to be able to go places, it's very hard. And if you can go to a place where you can socialize with other patients and share your stories, and that itself, just talking with other patients, is therapeutic in its own.
Well, see, that's like compassion clubs used to be, like those lounge type places. Like, that's what I remember. Like, when I first started using cannabis, was like you'd go to the compassion club, and that's where you would use your cannabis.
Yeah.
Like, it was like illegal, but no one's. I have yet to ever hear of a story where, like, a compassion club of people sharing cannabis was ever, like, in need of police services because someone got too rowdy.
No.
Like, I think that Domino's is probably maybe, like, called, a few times, but other than that, like, I don't think that police can ever allege that they're called to situations like they are for alcohol use.
No, they're not. I wrote an article about vapor lounges for Treating Yourself magazine, and in like 15 years of, like, the hot box is over 15 years old, it's almost 20. There was less incidents at a vapor lounge in all those years than on a weekend at the distillery district or the drinking districts where all the bars and stuff are in the cities. So, yeah. Before we let you go, Jamie, we got a few more minutes still here left. What I was wondering is that I'm on your website here, and I'm seeing the forum, Be Brave for Cannabis. It mentions if you live in Michigan, you want to participate in a Michigan Pacific video campaign. What I was wondering is this going to branch out, like, federally? Is this what you're hoping for?
It is. Like, so we, because I am combining forces with a marketing agency in Lansing to create Cola Marketing. Our focus, we are going to do some video marketing, offer those services, and I want to create videos that we can use and run some because the great thing about Facebook, like, everyone thinks that you can't advertise a cannabis on Facebook, but you can. You can't advertise the sale of it, but you can put together an advocacy campaign, and you can use advertising money to push that advocacy campaign. So that's my goal, is to create some, to start using testimonials, get sponsors like dispensaries or certification clinics, get sponsors to help fund the advertising effort of that, and use Facebook to promote those stories and the Be Brave for Cannabis campaign.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's. I think, like I said, I mentioned it's a great idea. More people speak up, better it will be. Okay, Alicia, we got a few more minutes before we get to the shout out. You got to throw another question at Jamie.
So I guess I'm wondering, like, long-term plans. Any plans to enter the market in terms of retail or dispensary style, anything like that?
Well, yes. I would love a dispensary to be a partner in the dispensary in Grand Haven. It's a very, very, very conservative town, probably one of the most conservative towns in the state. And, it's a tough battle here. I have already approached my municipality, who gave me a very strict hell no. We will not even give you time on the agenda to talk about this. And honestly, that's what fueled my fire for the virtual town hall meetings. It got me upset, and I used those emotions to try to create something that would be more effective. And perhaps I'm going to find some community members in Grand Haven that might put some pressure on city council and township board members around here. So
wow,
we'll see. I do
awesome.
want to. Yeah, I'm looking. We want to open a wellness center that's going to offer a variety of wellness healing options, alternative therapies like massage therapy, acupuncture. We want to do nutritional consulting, chiropractic care. We want to offer all those, and in cannabis education, we want to offer it under one roof. But the dispensary would have to be separate of the wellness center, but we want to market them together. And it was actually, this concept was actually chosen by the Michigan Women's Foundation last summer. We were chosen, our dispensary wellness center concept was chosen by them, and we pitched on a stage in November. And we didn't get selected, unfortunately, but, it was a great experience, and we're trying to do it, and eventually I think we will.
No, that's awesome. Like, just trying in itself is doing something, and that's of activism.
You got to try.
Exactly.
And you just never know.
Right.
You just never know.
Persistence.
Yeah, like we were really surprised when we used to do those shows with Treating Yourself, getting into these home shows and stuff. We're the only cannabis booth and hundreds of booths that were there, but you just never know unless you ask, and that's what you're doing, which is great.
Absolutely. There's a quote that I had posted last week, and it's, "A river cuts through a rock not because of its power, but its persistence." And, that's exactly what we are doing.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, it's shout-out time. This gives you an opportunity, if you want to highlight a person, place, thing, rhyme off a list of websites where people can get a hold of you for this Be Brave stuff and anything else you're doing.
Yes, my company, CANNABIS with a Z connection, CANNABISconnection.com. And then there's CannaMediaWorks.com, which is the marketing side of things. And then, CannaCon, I want to give them a shout out because, they're bringing their event to Detroit June 1st and 2nd. It's going to be the first big cannabis expo in the Midwest. And excited to have them. I feel like it's an official kickoff to the Michigan industry and the new changes. And, I'm excited to connect with a lot of people that have been involved in this for a long time and those that are becoming a part of it. And then Be Brave for Cannabis. Don't forget, April 19th. Please, please, please participate in the campaign by, being brave on social media. And hopefully it really takes off. And if you want to participate, just go to 420bebrave.com.
It's good. And even if you're not in Michigan, participate. Whether you're not even in the U.S., you're international, participation is encouraged, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're looking to participate in Michigan, get a hold of me.
Okay. All right. Super. Alicia?
I would like to thank Jamie for coming on and sharing her work. It just encourages me more, so thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
That's awesome. Oh, no worries, because that's awesome to hear that feistiness that you embody, and I quite appreciate that because that's what we need more of. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I encourage others to get a little feisty.
Correct. And I guess
that's what fuels change, though, right? Is that feistiness? And I like how you said that you got upset, so that caused you to do something. Most people get upset and then they're like, oh, whatever, but you do something, and so I quite appreciate that.
Yeah, I spend little time, I learn from my mistakes, and I spend little time just, on things that are out of my control and just try to concentrate my energy on the things that can change it or help others, and essentially this is going to help so many people. Our stories, sharing our stories will help a lot of people. It really will.
Sure does.
Yes.
I can agree with that one. And I got to throw a shout out to people sharing their stories, and that's Jessica and Natasha, the ladies that were speaking at our bumpers, sharing their stories with people.
Good one.
Yes. The reminder to let everybody know, well, it's not actually a reminder. I will be away next week. But Kim Cooper will be sitting here in the big chair, and she will be with her scheduled guest, Matt Murnau. And you can find Pace on Twitter at Pace Radio. You can also like the Pace Radio Show on Facebook, and we're on Instagram, Pace Radio Show there as well. And we are on the web as pace-online.ca. Thank yous go out to our sponsors, the friendly folks at CC Nexus. They're found at ccnexus.global. As well, just so you know, reminder, they're opening up a retail store in Alderville, north of Cobourg in Ontario. They will be their retail division, which is True North Seeds, and they're having a big party. So good luck if you get to that. And also to the man who is medicating and loving his new Shatterizer. That's Al Rapp of Lifestyle Radio. And a big thank you to our guest, Jamie Cooper of the Be Brave for Cannabis campaign. Thank you, Jamie, for coming onto the program and speaking to our listeners.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And as always, a big thank you to you, Alicia, for everything you do for the program. And thank you to our guests, our listeners. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Night.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.